part of the Backyard Horse Enthusiast. And today I am excited to announce that my beautiful and good friend, Teena Dietz, is here from Serenity Farm and Stables. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to support this really wonderful YouTube page that you've created so successfully.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we are always interested in not only different modalities of healing with equine and other modalities, and also people like yourself that you have, I believe, two facilities, correct? For equine or
Just the one. Yeah, I used to have a boarding situation and now we own the farm. And so at the farm, we have the space to do inside and outdoor arena work. And then we also have the retreat center or the retreat house on the property. So that might be the two locations you're thinking about.
right. Okay. So your retreat center is not where the stable, Serenity Stable is then?
Is, yes, they are both on the same property.
Okay. I'm glad you cleared that up because I don't know, I think I remember back when you were doing the whole boarding thing
Mhm.
prior. So this is a new acquisition for you,
Yeah,
fairly, right?
Yep, since last April. It's been a exponential growth period for our Serenity Farm.
Well, I've been watching you. I've been watching your postings on Facebook and it just feels like right out of the gate, you've been holding retreats and groups and fun events with kids and adults and that include the horses and everything else. And beekeeping, you do beekeeping as well. Tell us about that.
Well, technically, that's a project that my daughter Lexi and my husband Bill have taken on. So on the property, we do have 15 beehives. And so we do a lot of informational and educational sessions with the bees. There's so many great metaphors around life and healing and community with bees, of course. And then, of course, who doesn't want to try the samples of the honey that we have harvested from the farm? So, yeah, we're just trying to maximize all the great learning opportunities. This year, we did some maple syrup boiling and collection. And our hope is we have on the property a butterfly garden. So, this season, we're planting a lot of perennials and annuals with the hopes of growing the butterfly garden. Uh, it's been quite an adventure. It's a lot of
Wow.
work, but a great adventure.
No grass grows under your feet. My goodness. I feel like I've come to know you, but did not know just how diverse and it would and in depth seeking of healing modalities that you have undertaken since obtaining your RN
Yeah.
degree when 92.
Yeah, I graduated from nursing in 96 from Canada, moved to the US in 96, and then pretty much out of the gate, that was my specialty was oncology nursing. I have such a passion for that community. And it's an unusual specialty because it's one of the few in nursing where you would see the same clients and their families time and time again. Like in obstetrics, you deliver a baby and the chances of delivering from the same family again are pretty slim. But I really got to know my clients and their families and their stories and their struggles and their journey. So from there, I ended up doing the master's in psychology and counseling with a specialty of Adlerian theory, which is a really positive philosophical way of understanding mental health. And from there, pursued more the natural health, naturopathic medicine and homeopathic medicine, microcurrent, nutrition, herbal medicine, all of the pieces that I believe all contribute to a better state of mental wellness and health. So
Sure.
equine therapy is a perfect addition to that because as we know in healing, it requires so many different modalities to support a long-term picture of healing. And the horses have such a magical way of moving energy and transmutating trauma in a way that all these other modalities can't do alone. So
Mm.
the combination really of, in my opinion, of homeopathic medicine and equine therapy are just a home run, because you're supporting the physical, mental, and emotional, which is the Gestalt idea of healing in the homeopathic realm, and of course with the horses and the herd as well.
Sure. Wow. I mean, this could not have been an easy task, taking on all this, raising a family, being married, and then oh my gosh, you bring horses into the picture. And I am curious, as many horsemen that follow this channel would be as well, is where did horses start for you though? Where did that
Yeah,
passion for equine?
that's a serendipitous story. It's interesting because when I do my family background research, a lot of my ancestry actually moved from France, Europe to Canada as horsemen. But I grew up with no exposure to horses, but my children were born and were obsessed with horses very early on. That was when the cartoon or the Disney, I think it was a Disney Spirit movie came out. And that's all they wish for every birthday. I just want to do horseback riding lessons. I want to do lessons. I want to go see a horse. I want to pet a horse. So like personally, I was quite terrified of horses. In my early understanding, their role was to bite and kick, is what I was sort of told. And so I had a great fear of horses. But because my children were relentless, eventually we did do lessons. We did lessons as a family until we got into the cantering, and then some of my family members dropped out. But my daughter stayed with it. My son had some allergies, so he was restricted to just, riding and being around horses in the spring and summer when we could be outside. But ultimately, they never um, they never grew out of it. And so we then purchased over time 3 mares, and over the years, we've always gone out to the farms where we've boarded, brought friends and family, and had experiences of just sharing. I've always known the healing of being in nature and around animals, really any animals, but of course, it's exponential with horses and the herd. You could see that it was these beautiful family memories and experiences, and I just wish I could do more of that. So for a long time, I've been sort of scouting out programs. I knew I wanted to do equine therapy and add it to the things I was already doing. And I was fortunate enough to find Touch by Horse, which I love because it not only honors the great work that horses do, but the spiritual nature of horses and their desire to serve and heal. And so that was a beautiful opportunity for growth for me, and did that program, and then was pretty much ready to launch once that was completed, because I had the horses, I had the vision around this healing farm with different practitioners offering these different types of modalities for healing. And that it would just be this really safe and sacred space where people could come and feel loved and feel seen and feel heard. And it's just been a wonderful adventure since then.
Wow. Did you yourself go to a retreat where the Gestalt method, Melissa's Gestalt method, was being utilized at a retreat? Is that how you experienced it first? How did you find it?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. I'm trying to remember how all the pieces unfolded, but in my memory, what happened was I was fortunate enough to come across Teena Dietz, or Anna Dietz, sorry, mixing
I
up
can
all
see why
the.
that would be confusing.
Yeah, the spelling's very close to Dietz. But
Yep.
so Anna Dietz, I have a friend who's an Anna as well. So Anna Dietz was hosting a women's retreat in the Badlands, and I really wanted to attend. And ironically, when I had signed up for it, I didn't even realize you had to bring your own horse. I thought it was like, go to this retreat, they provided horses. So that's a whole different piece of the story. But I did really look forward to that, but that fell under the COVID time, and so it was canceled. And I had put a deposit for that retreat. And so I asked Anna if it would be possible to just use my deposit to do a session with her, because I was curious, and who wouldn't want to do a session with a horse? So I did that session, and it was magical. Of course, and as an amazing practitioner. And it also just seemed like that's the sort of work that I can see myself doing, that I can see my herd doing, and this is how I want to move forward. So that led me then into, discovering Touched by a Horse, and then applying for the program and having a long waiting period, because I think that was in early, perhaps December, that I found that program, but couldn't start until the following spring or summer. So it was of course, a 2-year program, and met some wonderful people, especially like yourself, and a wonderful herd of brilliant women that are also passionate about this work that we do with these horses that are so willing to do this healing work.
And that being said, oh, you and I graduated together, yes?
Yes, we
We
did.
walked the stage together. That was such a blur that week. There was so much going on. There were a lot of us. I think there were 25 of us that walked the stage.
Yeah, it was a long
Exciting.
graduation, special day.
Very special. That was the day I got my horse Dakota back,
Wow, that was a magical day for you then.
for real,
Yeah.
because I had asked Divine when I boarded the plane to go to Summit. I didn't bring my Ariat cowboy boots, and I didn't bring a hat. And I said, I'm going to choke up. I don't have a horse anymore.
Mhm.
And, but I said, God, I'm just going to do like I always do. And I'm going to trust and surrender to you, and you'll show me. And the day it was lunchtime, we broke for lunch, and I went out to the yurt, picked up my phone, and cell reception was so sketchy there. And yet I had a text message that the horse that I had sold to a very good friend of mine, he was always my heart horse, this one in particular.
Mhm.
And she said, I'm glad I could hold a place for him while you got settled, but my life is too crazy and it's not fair to him. He belongs with you. And I got
Mm.
him back. And it was a very magical week.
Mm.
Anyway, just the synchronicities and the serendipitous moments were just, it's definitely a healing place, a place that, Divine's shining extra special lights on. Um, when when you went back home
Mhm.
after that, what what impact did graduation, Summit, what happened to Tina when she returned home?
Yeah, I think I've been ready for so long to do this work. Like at my prior boarding location, I was ready to launch. And it's interesting because, like you said, serendipitously, I was probably meant to have to own my own property to go to the level that was possible for my dream and my vision. It couldn't have fit into another person's probably scheduling because we were so quickly so busy. So because of my background, I have such a diverse love. I have a love for the seniors and the elderly. And so, we almost launched right out of the gate doing some nursing home senior experiences. And then from there, uh, I was always very involved with a lot of women. I had a group I used to run called Awesome Women. And so this middle-aged women's group, I very quickly launched into some women's groups and the women's retreats. There was a local lady in Watertown that was interested in doing social skill groups. And so combining what she was already doing with an equine or nature background, it all just went effortlessly. All of these things were just in alignment with all these pieces I love. I have such a love for children and the playfulness of children. And so really, I think God just opened so many doors. I almost had to say, God, we have to slow down. I can't sustain this level of speed of development of these great programs that are so needed. So, and I'm very blessed in that I would say God instilled this idea of a team, that I can't do this alone. And there's so many people that want to participate in something that is so beautiful and purposeful. And so some dear friends of mine offered to volunteer right out of the gate. And so we were able to create a model or a program with a team sort of surrounding this evolution. So for instance, we have a mental health group that comes every Friday, and one of the volunteers loves doing the guided meditation. Another one has a passion for music, and so she'll do sound bowls during the guided meditation. My manager at the farm is an amazing horsewoman that has been practicing or working with horses since she was 5, and so she's like the best handler and horsemanship trainer that you could ever find. So I never had to do anything alone. God just keeps providing these wonderful horsewomen that really want to serve, and so we can have a really safe experience. And it never felt like too much because I had such lovely, loyal support from this team that has supported me from almost day one.
Wow. And
That's, I
that,
think, something that's different that I think has been really powerful for the success of our farm.
sure. And don't you feel that that is a trust and surrender? And you step back and you're like, God, I'll do the parts that I need to do. And I
Yes.
know you'll provide what's needed to support this effort and what we're doing, and that I love. And that's probably why it was so effortless. It was like, all right, you made it to this milestone. Now I'm stepping in. I'm going to make sure you have this, that. Because for a lot of, I was curious, like in watching your success in this, how did you manage it all without going into overwhelm or burnout? Or, I need more support and the parts and pieces. And I'm looking at all your posts and I'm like, look at all the great people in place and look at how many participants are here. And again, so many, the elderly, the senior citizens, children, all of it, and do it so lovely. And it does come across as so seamless, so effortless. I mean, I know there's a lot of work that goes into it, so I'm not poo-pooing that, but you're on to something good.
Yeah, I was just watching a program recently, and it talked about, we always think that love is well, I actually believe love is the first medicine across the board for all healing. But this idea that authenticity is the most powerful piece of success. And I think that is where we've had such success at Serenity Farm, because I show up fully as Teena Dietz in all the gifts that I bring to the world, and I don't have to accommodate. I just get to show up fully as myself. And that's the same for my team. I hope that they all can just show up and bring their gifts and be seen for that specific gift that they choose to share. And of course, we brought in the gift of music. Of course, that in itself is a frequency of healing. And sometimes live music. We've had a volunteer just play the guitar in the circle, and the healing bowls and how that affects the horses and the circle of clients. So I won't say that I haven't had overwhelm, because I've had plenty of overwhelm. And I've had plenty of times where I'm like, I'm just about at my maximum right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like God creates these spaces for rest, and I get that. And it is truly my intention to have more therapists available at the farm, so I wouldn't feel the burden of filling the time,
Sure, sure.
and all the enthusiasts know, having a farm and feeding horses and all the work that goes into that is a full-time job outside of a business model. So it is a lot on our plate right now, but I think that in time we'll figure out how to have it be a little less overwhelming, so everybody can do the parts they love and I won't feel that burden.
Yeah,
But it's a work in process.
sure, sure. Yeah. Well, you do it so beautifully. You have that. I mean, I don't have access to you 24/7, so I don't, I don't know if Tina has meltdowns. I think we all do, but or exhaustion where you're just like, I just can't even pick up a foot right now.
Yeah.
But all I've ever been on the receiving end is the most beautiful human being I know. Like I knew
Mhm.
that the minute your face popped up when you were coaching me as a student practitioner, and you just had an energy that was like a magnet, and that was safe all at once and non-judgmental. Like I really didn't feel like I had to put any facade on, like, I just was like, she loves me. I already know.
I
And I
do.
appreciated that because it really allowed me to let my guard down and really do what I was supposed to be doing for that. And you were a great coach in that you were also a fabulous cheerleader as well. I felt like you were as excited for my success as I was. And that was beautiful for me. You really, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your proverbial butt. However, I must say, I truly felt like you wanted what was best for me. Like you really were just like, come on, you can do this. And I was going through a really hard transition in my life. But your coaching allowed me to stay optimistic about my life and to absolutely trust and surrender.
Mm.
And the doors just started opening for me, and I understood why I had to go through a very difficult transition. So I thank you for that, Teena. You
It
will
was
always hold a special place in my heart for that.
Thank you. It was magical. And this is why I love every part of my work. I do believe at the deepest foundation that when one of us succeeds, we all do. So how could I not want that for you? Because all of us succeed when you do, when you can show up fully in your gifts and do the work you're called to. All of us get to benefit from that light. And that is my greatest joy, to just be a witness to the sacred story of all the people that cross my path, whether it's my team or the clients or the families that come to the property. It is my greatest joy from the time I was a nurse to this very day. It is magical.
That is authentically you. You truly are that.
Thank you.
No
It's a
doubt.
love fest. I feel like we're having a love fest.
I know. Well, that's okay. It's all about love and peace.
Yeah.
So I do want to touch on your retreats so that I'm sure there are people on here who have never been to a retreat and don't even know the first thing about what to expect. So, hi, Teena. I'm really interested in coming to one of your retreats. Can you give me some information about what I will
Expect.
experience?
Yes. So retreats vary in different groups. Like for instance, some people prefer to come and do a really intensive retreat that might look like a Friday through Sunday. And the biggest and most important piece for me as a coach or a therapist is to create a space that is sacred for people to share and feel as though they belong. That is what I believe is the deepest and most powerful source of healing, is a sense of belonging to something outside of ourselves. So that's my job, is to create a really loving environment for people to have a place to heal. And how that might look is, through different modalities. It might look like sharing and eating together, equine therapy circles, whether that's a group or individuals. It might look like guided meditation. It might look like reflective walks. We have a beautiful forest where we'll do some forest bathing. We have fairy gardens that many of the children are constantly adding to. They have their own little fairy house. Just setting intentions around what is it that you want to accomplish at our time together. What is your intention for our time together? That's the most important piece to understand as people come into a retreat, so we know how to best serve, and then making sure that's been accomplished by the end of our time together. Sometimes we have half-day retreats that might look like yoga, might look like equine therapy, followed with guided meditation and singing bowl ceremonies. It might look like art therapy. It might look like reflective journaling. So we definitely customize based on the needs of the group. If we have children, we might do a lot more around perhaps even doing family or chores. If it's a family that's coming out, we might do chores with the kids. We might do pieces around the bees, understanding the bees, harvesting honey, understanding how the hives work. So just very experiential pieces that are available on the farm. We have at the retreat house a beautiful retreat house that includes a pool table. So it's a fun place to come and create family memories. There's a awesome bunk room for the kiddos. My favorite thing to do, I will say, is when families come and stay, because usually in the family dynamics, there's always issues perhaps between the parents or even the grandparents and their children. So breaking off different sessions to bring the family together in a really positive environment. So we've had families from Texas, we've had families from Fargo, from Canada, just different locations. And that's my favorite because we're recreating these new dynamics. And of course, with the herd there, it changes things forever. And now we have imprinted these new positive memories and experiences that they can take with them. And it just, again, like you described, it's just a very authentic shift that takes place because that is our greatest intention for their time with us. I don't know if I answered all that question, but
Yeah, I love it. And do you offer to other like outside organizations, say, I don't know, like a corporate that wanted to have a day-long retreat or a 2-day, do you have any offerings like that as well?
yeah, one of the areas that we're sort of developing is our corporate leadership. So that is, we have done some shorter versions of leadership, but we have been approached by colleges, schools, and a lot of the mental health community because there's such burnout with the counselors, nurses, etc. So that is definitely an area, especially with my background in mental health and in nursing, that we'd like to provide to veterans, cancer support groups. Right now, one of my passions is we do have equine therapeutic experiences for an inpatient mental health addiction facility. They come weekly. So there's so much room for growth there. I think that most of those types of therapeutic programs have a high relapse. So the recovery world is really benefiting from the equine therapy experience. I guess I just say that because it's untapped and there's so many of us that are graduates. That's an underserved area that could use so much support. So yeah, the corporate piece, I guess that's something that we're building on. Right now, we've had our hands full with just, um, I would say more like the nursing home groups, the mental health groups, and then the children groups. It's ironic because I feel like with such need around mental health, especially anxiety, depression with children, parents are more likely to spend money on their children's health than their own. So that is like a really important community that, requires access to these types of out of the box healing modalities.
Sure. You had mentioned before we went live that um about a young man, 8 years old, that came
Mhm.
to you. Can you share that with the audience?
Yeah, we had a young guy that had a lot of anxiety and it was sort of off the charts. And the we'll say the Western system was trying to support him. He wasn't having much relief with medications. So his family came and they really wanted to support his healing around this anxiety and these intrusive thoughts. So I guess that's a good time for me to just introduce the idea of homeopathy and the benefits of homeopathy, which is also a holistic healing modality. But in being able to get to know him better in that environment with his family, we were able to select a really great remedy. And that really reduced his anxiety almost immediately, where he was able to then go back home and participate in school again and have less of the intensity and fears around fear of being poisoned. He also had uh, thoughts of hearing voices, that weren't there. So just knowing that not only the healing of the family system can contribute to the healing of the mental health when we can combine all these pieces is so powerful. Yeah, so that was a great success story and also just one I love to share because so many of us as parents would do anything for the well-being of our children, and many parents don't understand that this is such a powerful modality that can support anxiety and depression and suicidal ideation and some of those other very challenging symptoms that come with mental health challenges.
Or wow. Do you continue to monitor this family, or are you in touch with them so you can keep up with?
Yep, so they're a family that are very much supportive and excited about the equine therapy. And of course, they're out of state. So we get, visits every now and then, I'll say, when they come and visit the farm. I think they've come twice now. And then we do ongoing Zoom coaching with the family, just sort of checking in. And up to date, they're still all thriving in their life experiences. And so I know that healing is a lifelong journey. I don't expect that they won't have additional challenges down the road, which might require changes or shifts in their homeopathic remedies, etc. But they're really thriving as a family right now. And that brings me such great joy to know that he can be a young boy enjoying the pieces of childhood that he deserves to enjoy.
Absolutely. Wow. And for our audience, anyone who is interested in retreats, in any of the healing modalities that Teena and her staff offer, there will be all the contact information in our description box. So please feel free to reach out to Teena, um, whether it's email, through her website. She will be certain to get back to you. They have a lot to offer. I will also put the website, I'll be flashing it across the screen as we continue this interview. What about you? Had also mentioned the gentleman with the heart issue. Tell us
Yeah.
about that. That was fascinating. Not surprising to someone like me because I get it.
Yeah. So this wonderful gentleman, he had been recently diagnosed with a heart aneurysm. He has a lovely, amazing wife, and the doctor had told him not to do anything too stressful in this time of healing for him. And so they opted to come to the farm one day. The original intention was we would just walk around and give them a tour, and they would just be in this, very peaceful, serene farm space. And then when they met the horses, it was very clear that he wanted to do an equine session. He was curious. He doesn't really know horses well. He doesn't understand how equine therapy works. So it was very awesome in that he had zero expectations from that experience. So in the meantime, I brought him into the round pen with my beautiful mare lady, who's 27 and just an amazing coach. And we began in the round pen with him just talking out loud about what in his life was going on that he was ready to release. And so, of course, as he's walking in the round pen, lady is following him like a best friend would. And then we went in the other direction and talked about what is it that he wanted to bring into his life. And what really struck me about him is in this fear around his health, he had no concerns about his own death and dying, but his grief and trauma was really about watching his wife and the anxiety that she had around his ailment and his health. And of course, she's watching in on us doing all of this beautiful work. And so at a certain point in time, I asked him if he'd be willing to just speak from his heart to Lady's heart. What is it that he needed to say around that? And what did he need to receive? And so he put his hand on Lady's heart, and you could see visually that Lady's, like in the area where he had placed his hand, she was twitching just there, nowhere else on her body. This was before the flies came into picture. So anyhow, as he had his hand and his eyes closed on her heart and some tears down his face, eventually he just opened his eyes and said he felt complete. And so we left the round pen. It felt magical. I didn't know what had happened, but I knew that it felt magical. And then we talked with his wife, and they held hands and had tears and just expressed to one another, their love for each other, and that no matter what, they would get through this. Uh, there was borrow benefits also in that the handler that was helping me that day had just recently lost her husband. And so for her to witness this exchange of love between this couple and the anxiety around seeing your significant other suffering in such a way, it was just beautiful. It was so many tears. I had tears. Everybody had tears. But what was so really wonderful is after that week, we had heard back from this this wonderful gentleman that he'd had a scan and they couldn't detect an aneurysm, that he had healing. And so for that family, there was so much emotional healing that took place in just having that conversation on the table around. They were walking on eggshells, not discussing the aneurysm, not discussing like their anxiety or grief around what could or could not happen. And just to know that that had been a place of sacred healing, of discussion, of exchange of fears, that was the healing that needed to be released. And so I don't know. I suspect Lady did a lot more than just holding space for that wonderful young man.
Sure. Oh my gosh. Wow.
But this is what happens all the time in this equine world that we work in. Like, I have another young man, he's 30 on the spectrum, has a lot of trauma around abandonment. His mom left him when he was younger and raised by, his father, and had some estranged relationships with siblings, never felt emotionally connected in a physical way to anybody. And so he's sitting there in the round pen, and our horse in the program, Woody, would just lick his hands. He would have his hands over his heart, and this horse would just lick his hands until he had a smile so grand on his face, tears coming down his eyes. These horses know what is needed and can show up in such a way where there's the boundaries and the guardedness just leave. Yeah, it's, you just wish this would be available to everyone. Everyone needs to be seen and heard and experienced in such a loving, authentic way. And sometimes as humans, it's hard to let our guard down to other humans, but it seems like the animals can bring this down and guide us so much more quickly to a healing space.
Absolutely. Because I think as humans, when we're in the presence of such majesty and connectedness, we
Mm.
don't feel judged. We feel like we can be emotionally naked, that we can just be. And
Mhm.
letting that guard down allows for so much to come in as well. It's a give and take and a give and take. I think about my horse Dakota, and I've heard it said by so many people, that horse is special. There's something very, very special about, and there is. I feel like I've known him from past lives. Like, we went into battle together. He was my warrior mount. He protected me. He still has that demeanor about him. And he's the kind of guy that's like, he could be eating his morning breakfast, his grain. And if I show up, he will leave his food to come over and check in with me. How are you? He's got to, touch every part of me and nuzzle, lick my hands. And then, like, you good? I'm good. Okay, I'm going back to breakfast. And that's special. That's a horse. And if you allow yourself to open up, and horses are good at making that happen, and you feel that it's a feeling like no other. Like, truly, it's just, that's a horse I could and have laid on the ground, and he's laid down beside me.
Mm.
And I know they have to feel safe, and you have to feel safe to be able to do something like that. I wouldn't advise it if it wasn't a horse you know what I mean? But
Yes.
it is just so special.
The love and the loyalty. And it sounds like your horse just goes over you, does a quick adjustment,
Yeah,
opens everything up, makes sure everything is flowing, then gets right back to his alternative plan of eating. But that is what they do. Their greatest joy is to just serve us and to support our healing path. And I love that you have Dakota. You deserve to have him every day for the rest of your days, because he is such a sweet healing soul for you.
he really is. He's my
Mhm.
partner, besides my dog. Those are my two best, best, best friends in the whole world.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It is interesting. So often when I do my equine therapy groups, I often will have 3 of my mares in the arena with us. 2 are behind a gate and 1 is in the round pen doing the work. But it is not uncommon for 2 of them to be laying down during our time together. And where I find that to be so magical is the predominant groups that we host have very high anxiety levels, but that we create such a space that they feel so safe, both clients and horses, that they can just lay and be like big dogs. It's quite remarkable.
It really is because you know a horse will not lay down unless they feel safe.
Hmm. As prey animals, it's uncommon,
Right,
but they
right.
can sense our intentions and our desires and our need for support, and they just role model like, you are safe here. This is a really safe place.
Incredible. So that being said, with your horses as your therapy horse,
Mhm.
um, you brought them, you kind of brought them in. What were your 3 mares before Teena became a grad or a student in the program and then a grad? Like what were they?
Yeah, they serendipitously were chosen for the life I would have ahead. That is for sure, because they're all 3 amazing coaches. My first horse, Lady, she was chosen for my daughter who was doing some Western show, just like community fairs kind of level, not high level. And so that was her original purpose in our family's life. And then as Lexi got older, she had to have a second horse that was able to do the Western lope. So unfortunately, Lady couldn't do that because she wasn't trained in that way. So we got Hope. Um, prior to learning that though, I had gotten Willow, who's a paint quarter horse, and I had purchased her with the intention of doing trail riding. Ends up that she had some physical ailments as a result. Every time I would think about selling her, I didn't want to, but I didn't need 3 horses at the time. At least I didn't think I did. And so every time that I would try to do a video to sell her, she would be lame. So I've carried her with me all these days, and it's wonderful because all 3 of them have very different dispositions. Lady is a very introverted, maternal, nurturing energy. So anyone who might have issues with mothers or, you know, um, feeling loved, feeling seen, feeling heard. She's our girl. She's so solid, she's so calm, and she's so loving. And then, of course, we have Willow, who's spirited, beautiful. You can't tell me what to do. Strong boundaries, a chakra queen, so great at
Mm,
opening, so affectionate, but also on her terms. So many people are drawn to her because that's how most of us are, right? Like
right.
my
That makes you feel safe too, right? With firm
yeah,
boundaries, but still the nurturing, the love. But no,
yeah,
you start testing those boundaries. I will remind you.
yeah.
No. Yeah. Wow.
Can't demand my attention. We
Is she
can.
good with teenagers?
She's so great. All the teenagers are drawn. Most people are drawn to her first
Mm,
because she's so beautiful and she has such an interesting essence that is yeah, captivating. And then also just really loving.
mm,
Like you must just let down your guard for her to come in. Again, you can't demand her to do what you want her to do. And then Hope, she's kind of in the middle, just a very intuitive horse. She used to be the top lead mare, and then she was injured. She got a twig that had gone through her eye, so she's blind in her right eye. And so that adds an entire dimension of like, how do we get from highest to finding our place in the world when we are no longer at the highest of the herd? That's been a difficult transition for her. I think she longs for that part of herself that was the leader. And so watching her come into this work in the way that she has, all 3 of them though were, Western trained and excellent for trail riding and just all very calm dispositions. So I always, when we work with the horses, I always ask who would like to work, and very often one of them will come up to the gate. Sometimes all 3, most commonly all 3 like to work together. I feel like One of them can do the bulk of the coaching, but the other two are supporting her. Often it's Lady or Willow. The other two are supporting her energetically while she's doing that work, and they're also supporting the client or the group. I think that's unusual and different, but it's been really powerful to see.
Wow. Is there, and I know the answer to this, but some of our audience members might not. When people come to a healing retreat and the horses are involved, is there riding? Do they ride the horses? Do you offer riding in your retreats?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I do not. I only do the groundwork with my mares. I don't offer riding. I'm not an instructor. However, at our farm, there are two instructors, predominantly one that will offer riding on her horse or instruction. So sometimes when people come, like for instance, the family that recently visited from Texas, their children really wanted to do riding lessons. And so they did do, 2 sessions, 2 separate days where they got to do some riding. And then we also have on our farm 2 little ponies that are amazing little coaches as well. We include them on the guided meditation where they'll just go around and support whoever's in the circle. And then also we'll offer chariot rides. We have such a strong desire to create these childhood joyful memories. And we have seen adults just giggling and laughing that had never been near a horse, forget on a chariot. So just rewiring the neuroplastic brain around all the fun that is still possible as adults. So this Tuesday we'll have a nursing home, and those that feel that they're able will have that opportunity. And it's just magic to
Do they
see
come to your
joy.
place?
Yep, so there'll be a group of 10 seniors with 2 of their volunteers from their program. I think there'll be 3. And we'll do a session where we'll play their favorite music, like Roy Orbison type music in the background. And then often we'll just ask them like what their memories are of, because many of them have dementia. So we'll ask them what are memories they have of their horse life. Last year, we had this one gentleman who used to be on a farm with 29 horses and took care, like he can't remember anything about today or tomorrow, but he remembers that part of his life so acutely that it's just beautiful. And then of course, we'll, do little demonstrations, perhaps lunging or obstacle courses, and then let them pet the horses should they choose, or do grooming should they choose. And then we'll end as a finale with chariot rides for whoever wants to do that.
Oh,
So it's such a, yeah, you'll have to watch for that. I'm sure we'll have some videos posted around that, but you just wish this for everyone. I know for myself, having worked in nursing my whole life and anticipating, our elderly years, I pray and hope that I'll have the opportunity to visit farms and be around horses and the magic that that brings.
wow, Tina. I feel like you've thought of everything.
Mm.
Truly. I mean, ooh, it's a big deal to offer one or two of the copious amounts of things that your facility offers, you and your staff, but there's just so much. Wow.
Well, I really believe, my tag is like healing should be an adventure. And so how do we create adventures for everyone so that there's, and it keeps it interesting for me. I'm an ENFP, so I like diversity. I like some elements of surprise in my life, and having that diversity allows for that. There's never a dull moment or a predictable day.
I love it. I do. Wow.
And
What
hopefully someday you'll be able to come and visit. Perhaps
oh,
we
I
could
will.
meditate
I
and
will. When
together.
my as you know, I care for well, she's coming up on 94 in 2 months.
Mhm.
She'll be 94. And I've dedicated, my life, really a big portion of it now to her well-being. She has a beautiful daughter that I've inherited a sister, really. And of
Mhm.
course, she's an equestrian, of course, has to
Yeah.
be. But she lives quite a distance away, an hour. It's not really far, but far enough. And she does have dementia. And so, keeping her in her own home is imperative right now because she knows it, and I'm right next door to take care of things as they come up. But and not to be morbid, but the day will come when this will no longer be a big part of my life. When that happens, my plan is to get in my camper van with my dog and start heading around the country and visiting beautiful people like you and other herd mates and clinicians and trainers and just horse people and regular backyard enthusiasts and everyone, because I think that we all, as equine lovers of everything equine, have something to offer, and we all have something to learn as well from others.
Yeah.
And
What a
but I
blessing, that lovely lady. I hope when I'm 94, I'll manifest a Kimber in my life.
it's really fun, and I'll tell you, you are never too old to do your healing work. As you know, I offer inner child healing groups, and I gave her the book that we have based our work on, and she read that book so fast. And something she did say to me, I said, now it might be a little jarring, some of this, so let me know when you need a session, which we've had many. And she looked at me and she said, I want to figure this SHT out before I die.
Mm. Yeah, our work is never done till our last
Never,
breath. And I'm
never.
pretty sure even then it's not done.
Right, right,
Come back.
exactly. But to be so willing, even at that age, where she was like, no, I really want to figure some stuff out. And she had a lot of aha moments.
I think
Okay.
we all have this inner child work to do, and that will be our first collaborative retreat. You will guide us in this inner child work. That is my goal.
It's intense, but it's really beneficial, as you know. So yeah,
Necessary.
that'd be fun. We could definitely do that. So I am reading here. You have a women's retreat coming up in August. What
Yes.
what's that? It looks like there's all different things going on, from day retreats that are
Yeah.
done monthly. Tell us about that. What's going on besides a
Well,
lot?
yeah, so much. So on the day retreats, that's predominantly, my hope is that it will be almost like coming to church on the weekend could be being in nature in communion with God in that way. So we'll offer like a yoga experience, equine, and then followed with a guided meditation with singing bowls. So that's like my hopes that over time will be an ongoing Sunday or Saturday morning experience. And then in August, our women's retreat is around women in transition. As we know, that can mean a lot of things. In my women's groups, we've had a recent couple women that are in the process. One is just a newly diagnosed cancer experience or transition. And then we have another one that's, building a business and having some major or challenges with that. So with that experience of gathering women together, will be just creating this community of support. That's the foundational intention. And then in terms of how we'll go about doing that, there'll be some equine sessions, individual and group, and then they'll have opportunities to do some Reiki sessions in the pasture with the horses. It might be massage therapy. Of course, the singing bowls will be a part of that. We'll do them in the forest. And then just a lot of time for journaling, reflection. And then we have this amazing two sisters. They're called Sister, their band, and they've wrote some really beautiful music. And so they'll be participating in the retreat as well. Fire ceremonies, all kinds of fun things, almost like summer camp for women.
Sure. How do
30
you like,
points.
with all this, do you like have weekly staff meetings? How do you organize so much?
We do weekly staff meetings. Now we've gone to every other week because we just really don't have that kind of extra time. And as you know, staff meetings are never short, even though you might have the intention for them to be wrapped up quickly. So we do a lot of communication. I'm at the farm all the time, of course, and kind of figuring out needs as we go. And so Right now, it is my intention. There's definitely holes in our business model where I could use some extra support administratively and social media marketing components. But all those pieces are slowly coming together. But it is an ongoing process of just great communication amongst the staff. There's simultaneously things happening all the time. And then when we first created the space at the farm, we didn't.
Oh, you froze. You froze. I'm not frozen. All right, we may have to get a reload on this. Oh, you're gone. I'm gonna end it and we're gonna
Are you there?
there you are. Don't worry about it because I can cut that out. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I don't know why my Wi-Fi just kind of gave me a hiccup there. So I don't know what I was saying or when you lost me, but was I talking about borders?
No, this was about your staff meetings and getting you really need someone on board to do a lot more admin stuff, marketing, that kind of stuff, which is it sounds like you're at a place with the growth of your facility and your offerings that that's it's a growing pain. It's a pain you must endure that really is telling you this is success when you have to take it up another level, and we need another designated person just for this part of it. And let's face it, marketing, social media, all of that is pretty much a full-time job, right? It just is. Truly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I'm at that place too. Like even in doing these interviews, and I'm a one woman show, right? I'm recording them, I'm seeking them, I'm getting all the information, I'm researching, I'm filming, and a lot of times I go out in person and do all my videography myself. And then I've got to bring it into an editing software platform and then do all the editing and all that. And it's like I feel your growing pain where it's like I'm right on that precipice of going up to the next level, and uh and you just got to jump, you got to hold your nostrils and just free dive, like I'm going, I just have it's time, or you're going to stand still or go backwards. So
yeah,
yeah, it's
not go forward.
finding that right person. You
I'm
will.
wondering, yeah, as will you, because maybe there's an intern out there that's really wanting to learn from a pro like yourself.
Right, right, for both of us, for any of us. So let it stand now that that's what we're looking for. So if there's anyone fresh out of school or in school, and videography, social media, marketing is what you're going after, we are willing to provide a platform for you to do that and
Yes.
cut your teeth. So absolutely. What advice would you give an aspiring practitioner, someone who wants to follow in your footsteps? What have you learned throughout the years?
I've learned so many things. I think that one of the most important things, to be quite honest, is the work that you're doing. Like we have to do our own inner work before we can be a great healer or a great practitioner. And not
Mm,
that I'm saying we'll ever complete our inner work because it's ongoing, but we have to have a dedication and a devotion to our own shadow work and healing our inner child wounds. In the case of being a Gestalt equine therapist, I think it's equally important to have a really good understanding and connection with the herd and the horses, should that be the angle that you choose. And so many people have the experience of an equine magical healing session, and then they have the beginnings of needing to learn about the equine piece. So the unicorn is like to find someone who is a therapist or a coach and also has the equine background. But what I love is I've seen many of my teammates take on both simultaneously, and I'm seeing them be amazing therapists, in training, and I look forward to seeing how that will unfold. And then the third piece I would say is I really love the idea of creating a team. Healers overall tend to be more introverted and more isolated in their work, but it can be a lot. And so, like for us, whenever we do a group therapeutic experience, we'll meet afterwards, talk about what we thought worked, what touched us, if there's anything that we need to sort of talk about or work through, if it triggered us, and then just how can we improve it for the next time. But having a group supportive environment makes that work so sustainable. So I think that may be uniquely how it sort of has organically grown for Serenity Farm, but I highly recommend that as a possibility for others because there are so many people that want to serve. We have a lady that's a volunteer with us. She's 86. She was a pioneer in holistic health and nursing in Minnesota, still rides her horses and will come. She's part of our group. You know, she's in a women's group, but she'll also volunteer commonly and just hold the space for the healing. She might lead a guided meditation. And there's so many of these amazing healers and people or women out there that want to serve, that want to be part of something purposeful and special, and they're just waiting to be called to action.
Beautiful. Mm. Do you feel that your work, and especially with these horses, has had a profound impact on your life? And if so, in what manner? In your relationship? I mean, you are a happily married woman with two beautiful grown up children now. They're not children anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know, like I said, I didn't know that God would bring horses into my life. That was a really wonderful surprise. But my horses, because they've been part of our life for so long, they've witnessed the entire story. And when you look at my entire story, it wasn't always happy and without challenges. And to know that
Mhm.
they witnessed those difficult times, I didn't even appreciate how they held the space during those times of growth for me personally and my family. But yeah, I attribute most of my healing to their support and love through those difficult times. And I know they'll do the same for my children as they move forward into their lives. I had my own personal homeopath do a session once with me, and we both sat on chairs in the arena with my three horses, the herd, holding the space with the sharing of what was going on for me. And during that time, of course, Lady stood like a warrior, like she always does, and the other two laid on the ground around us. I'll try to find that picture to share.
Please do.
It's had me in tears because when I was telling her pieces of my story that I hadn't shared with anyone before, it was them just showing me like we were there and
Mm.
it hurt us to see you hurting in that way. And they were part witnesses to all of it. And that's what I think I will carry with me forever, how they showed up in ways that I wasn't even aware of with such loyalty and love, much like your little dog and your Dakota. But this is what they do, like a true soulmate. The
With no
unconditional,
judgment.
no judgment. Nope. And I think that was a transitional moment in time for my own homeopath who didn't know that horses could be in such a way.
Oh, it's beautiful. I understand. I truly, that's, no matter where I was in life, in my head, in my soul, my heart, to be able to walk out to the barn and just have complete and total acceptance and support and love and know, like there was no like, oh my gosh, are you depressed again? Or are you mad about something again? Well, forget about it. I'm going somewhere else. Like they were
Yeah.
just so like, I remember having four of them and they would almost, I won't say fight each other, but there was like, let me at her, let me at her, let me at her, and I witnessed them do that with other people that I didn't know something was going on. They were just there to visit. And it was like, they would point out, oh, this one right over here, this one needs a little, work and we're going to do it. Okay. It was crazy to witness. and know what they were doing and why, and then have that person say to me the next day, I have never felt such peace and like that before in my life. I was so anxious, or I was so depressed, or I was so in my head, and I have felt nothing but peace for hours since then.
Mhm. Things change. Things
Very much.
shift.
Yes. So again, we want to make sure that everybody knows how to contact Teena and Serenity Farm and Stables, and we're going to make sure that we provide you with all of the information that you need to get a hold of Teena, get a hold of the facility, whatever way you wish to do so, and get yourself to one of these retreats or a day event or whatever moves you. You will not be sorry. Absolutely not. Teena, we are coming up on the hour. This has been an hour well spent in my book any day, anytime. Even when
Mm.
you call or I call you, it's like the shot in the arm that I need. You are so inspiring. You are such a genuinely honest and beautiful soul. And I am so blessed that God brought you into my life. And I know that this is a friendship that I'll go to my grave with, and then I'll see you in heaven, and
Yeah.
we'll dance around with our horses.
And our fabulous stories.
All the stories.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I wish you great success as you move forward with this amazing way that you're reaching so many of us horse enthusiasts, doing all this great work with them. I'm
Oh,
grateful that you created such a magnificent place for us to come to.
right back at you. Thank you so much.